beautiful downtown Millheim. In the smack dab center of the Keystone State, this is Lou Bryson with Seen Through a Glass, the podcast that's mostly about food and drink in central Pennsylvania. Welcome to episode 84, The Purple Lizards of the Grand Canyon. A title like that has to be explained. It's actually pretty easy. I interviewed Mike Hermann, the creator of a central Pennsylvania icon, the outstanding Purple Lizard recreation maps. In this area, in an almost one-to-one overlay of the Seen Through a Glass listing region, you'll see the Purple Lizard map display in hardware stores, coffee shops, and brew pubs, in bike shops, outfitters, and fly fishing shops. Maybe places you might not expect to find a map, but it says right on every Purple Lizard map they're for hiking, biking, boating, running, camping, exploring, and contemplating. As Mike will tell you in the interview, they're very inclusive. Anyway, that's half of the episode title explained. The other half is the splendid Grand Canyon of Pennsylvania, that 47-mile-long gorge of Pine Creek that runs from Ansonia south to Waterville. I took my bike back to the Pine Creek Rail Trail last Friday for the first time in way too long. I used to ride the Pine Creek pretty regularly, starting back around 2010, but I fell out of the habit during the pandemic. And as you'll hear, I challenged myself to go back in the interview, so I kind of had to do it. So I mounted my old hybrid, strapped on my helmet and hydration pack, and started pedaling. I rode parts of the trail. I stopped at some spots along the way. I had a couple of beers and reconnected with this quietly spectacular spot. Well, we'd better get at it. It's a longish interview, partly because I've been a map nerd for most of my life. My father was a cartographer in the Army and maintained a keen amateur interest, and partly because Mike is just a great interview. And then I'll tell you about that ride in the gorge and those stops I made and some people I met, but the episode's mostly the interview. And we'll get going on that as soon as I tell you about what I'm drinking today. What I'm drinking today is Brewery Techne's Perkuno's Hammer, a Baltic porter made in Philadelphia. This is a special beer for me because it's been made for over 25 years, off and on. It's won a Great American Beer Festival gold medal, and I helped formulate it, and I helped brew the first batch. I was captivated by Baltic porters in the mid-1990s. These big, flavorful dark lagers were a brewing fossil. British brewers had made a nice export trade selling strong porters to the Russian imperial court in the 17 and 1800s. Brewers around the Baltic Sea had, of course, heard of these beers, even tasted them, and they made their own versions. Then World War II came along, and at the end of it, a lot of the countries that brewed these big dark beers, I used to call them a happy train wreck between an imperial stout and a double bock, they wound up on the red side of the Iron Curtain. And whatever else you can say about the Soviets, they tended to be, I have a hammer, so this thing is a nail school of getting things done. And porters that had been ales became lagers because it's easier to have one yeast at a brewery than to have two. Very few people in the eastern U.S. knew about Baltic porters at this time. There were a few Polish examples that were imported by a company in Chicago, and I got to try one of those in 1994 in a Kochim porter. I was blown away. The beer became part of some of our early family history, weddings, funerals, camping trips. Then as I gained some notoriety as a beer writer, I started pushing the idea of brewing one to craft brewers. Tom Baker, who had just opened Heavyweight Brewing in New Jersey, was interested. We corresponded, and he invited me over to help brew the first batch, with beans, which was a traditional ingredient in some of these beers. I came up with the name, Perkuno's Hammer, a reference to a Baltic thunder god. We made a small batch, and it was really freaking good. People wanted more. He made more. And then one night, I was sitting at the bar in DBA, a well-known beer bar in Greenwich Village at the time, and the bartender was telling another customer about a beer that they'd had on that he'd really liked, a dark beer from New Jersey. Weird name. Was it maybe Perkuno's Hammer? I asked. He slammed his hand on the bar and shouted, "Yes! Best effing beer I've ever had!" And that was one of the best moments of my beer life. Until the day Tom texted me from his next brewery, Earthbred Brewery, to tell me that the latest iteration of Perkuno's Hammer had won a gold medal at the GABF, and I should come over so we could drink some. So I did. And Tom is still making Perkuno's hammer at his latest brewery, Brewery Techne. He sent me a 4-pack recently to have on What's Brewing, and you'll be able to see that soon. And I'm going to sneak one out a little early. Perkuno's is brewed with a lager yeast and comes in at 7.5%. Here we go. Already poured this, and it's, wow. It is, as it has always been, a dark chestnut color with a really tenacious cap of tan foam. Just a great looking beer. And I'll tell you, it's been pushing itself into the air ever since I poured it. It has it's brewed with a certain amount of special bee malt, which tends to bring a dark stone fruit character to it, like really ripe plums, maybe even onto the side of a particularly bright tasting prune. And you get that in the nose along with some tobacco, like pipe tobacco, a really moist, burly tobacco. You get like plum cake, wow. The only way I can describe this is as a really, really dark and rich chocolate cake that got just a little bit overdone, a little scorched, a little bit charred in a way that just makes your mouth water. I gotta have a taste of this, see if it's, that is big and sweet and fruity, and yet at the same time, bold and assertive and dark and has that little bit of char. Like I said, train wreck. Wow. You know, I sound like I'm patting myself on the back here, but one, my involvement with this beer is almost 30 years in the past. I helped push it on its way, but I mean, it's clearly their beer now, but I still feel, but wow, it's good. The thing I love about this beer is how big it is and yet light on its feet. It's like a happy berserker. It's a sumo wrestler in ballet shoes. It's, wow, it's really good. I don't even know where to tell you to find it, except at Bar Hygge, which is Tom's place in Philadelphia, where Brewery Techne supplies for, but it's also in some beer stores down in that area. If you can find it, grab it. Actually, if you can find any Baltic Porter, grab it. I love that beer. Always have. Hey, one thing before we do get to the interview, I want to tell you about an event this weekend, June 27th. I'm going to be at the Tyrone Hops and Vines Festival from 4 to 9 on Saturday. And yes, there are still tickets available. And yes, this event is priced well below most similar festivals in the area. And yes, I will be selling signed, personalized copies of Whiskey Masterclass and American Whiskey Masterclass. I'll also have Seen Through a Glass stickers, and you and I can talk about what you would like to hear about on future episodes of the podcast. I may also have whiskey. Maybe. You never know. Despite what you might see on the Facebook post about my appearance, though, the corgis will not be there. I'm sorry, they just get bored really easily. So it's this Saturday, June 27th. Tickets are available at TyroneHopsandVines.com, or you can find the link at the Tyrone Hops and Vines page on Facebook. I hope to see you there. So, why did we do an interview about maps and not about food or drink? I mean, I do say it's mostly about food and drink right there in the intro every episode, so you have a warning, but you deserve a little more explanation than that. Well, some of you have specifically asked for this interview, and I really do listen. Interview the Purple Lizard map guy, you said. Okay. Purple Lizard maps can be found at quite a few of the places we've already featured on the show, and that's another reason. And that one gets pretty close to my main reason. Purple Lizard maps are about an essential part of the character of where we live, this green heart of Pennsylvania. We're very lucky to live here, but it's so easy to access that we can take it for granted. And it is easy. I can drive directly to my daughter's house in Bellefonte, or I can, if I want, take a few minutes longer and go over the switchbacks behind Madisonburg, skirting Big Kettle Mountain. Or I can indulge in a little dirt road travel on Blue Ball Road, where I've seen foxes and ruffed grouse and come out by Hecla Park. Nature envelops us here. It affects our everyday if we'll just allow it to. Even when we live in a town, even in a town as large as Harrisburg or State College, the wilds are truly a short distance away, literal mere minutes. And that includes what we eat, locally raised, locally butchered, locally processed, and where we eat it. It might be in a place where we know the people in the kitchen, or a place we choose because we love the drive to get there, or where the place itself is. And I will tell you, there are a couple bars I will visit just because I can take my beer outside and smell breeze-tossed pine trees or sun-baked limestone, or feel the cool, pleasantly damp air off a river. Or I can sit inside with a whiskey and a bowl of chili and look past the vitreous limit of warm comfort to a serenely frigid view of snow-covered ridges. Purple Lizard is about that where. I tell Mike that one of the things I like about his maps is that they aren't hyper-focused on just the main attraction, but spread out so you can see what else is nearby. And another reason I like them is the playful nature of the maps. The name, Purple Lizard. The notes, for best results, carry this map with you at all times. And make your own adventure. And it's an ever-changing world out there, and outdoor adventures are inherently dangerous. And this, maybe my favorite, you cannot reproduce this map in print, digital, or a form yet to be invented, unless we say it's okay. Except for tattoos. Those are encouraged. Yeah, it's wordy, and as you know, so am I. And that's why I love to see some of the empty spots on the maps filled with quotes, maybe from the Pennsylvania State Constitution, or from Winnie the Pooh, or Edward Abbey, and this absolutely true bit about getting up past I-80 that I found on the Bald Eagle map from local songwriter and poet and arborist Van Wagner. North of 80, it ain't the same. I don't know how else to put it, to explain. There's a different tune in the air. There's a northern feel that makes it real everywhere. And on that note, let's get off the grid and on the map with Mike Hermann, founder of Purple Lizard Maps. Hey, I'm here with Mike Hermann, the founder of Purple Lizard Maps. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. I can't lie. We're redoing this because I screwed up the recording, and we're going to try and rebuild it. I have no interest in lying to my audience. So
is this a free-flowing conversation?
It has been, and it's been great. So let's
it'll pick up right again.
Yeah, let's get back at that. I started out, and I'll do it the same way. I know that some of my listeners are already familiar with Purple Lizard Maps, but others aren't. So tell us, what kind of maps are they? I mean, you think of map, and you think of, most people think of the thing you have in your glove compartment, and
right. Most people think of a highway map.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that because it folds the same way, but then it just goes right off the rails. So what are they?
What they are, the genre would be outdoor recreation maps. And so under that broad spectrum of outdoor recreation, one of the things that makes our maps different is we try to be completely inclusive of all types of outdoor recreation. So you'll find sometimes you can go out there and perhaps buy a map of a river trail, or a map of a particular hiking trail, or a map of a particular small area. Mm-hmm. We're mapping and unlocking these really big, broad landscapes. Most of our maps cover 100, 200 to 500,000 acres. So these are big landscapes.
Yeah.
And we're trying to show the difference between public land and private land, and everything you can do on the public land. And to some extent, things you maybe have access to do on private land also.
Oh, okay.
But in terms of outdoor recreation. So we want to show the fly fishing spots. We want to show the boat launches. We want to show the mountain bike trails. We want to show the hiking trails. We want to show the backpacking loops, the more organized ones.
This was one of the things I wanted to ask you about a little later, but since you brought it up, you seem completely unprejudiced with how people do this. You don't care if they hike this. You don't care if they ride a bike or an e-bike or whatever. You don't even seem to care if people just drive to this stuff. You just want to show them the stuff.
Exactly.
That's the important part.
That's the important part. And when you say I want to show them the stuff, so that's interesting angle on it. I want them to be aware, and I want them to get out and experience public lands. And the reason I want them to do that is because that creates stewardship. And
Okay.
the only way that we keep, retain, and grow public lands is through the public and the public use. If the public stops using them,
Yeah. If we stop valuing them.
if we stop valuing them, they'll disappear into corporate holdings. They'll become whatever they become.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want people to get out there and see the landscape and enjoy it. And by default, they will hopefully get a sense of stewardship, maybe adopt a section of trail, maybe go help build a new section of trail, maybe show up for some trail cleanup days, maybe support some of the nonprofits that are really behind the scenes supporting our state parks and our state forests as well. The state does a great job also. So we tend, if you grow up with this in your backyard, you take it for granted.
Sad but true.
People who don't have access to this, when they find it, they're stunned and amazed. And no, I don't really care how they're recreating. And the other side of that is like I care what they're doing. So it gets back to stewardship. Because any genre of recreation can be done responsibly in the forest. And you can pick on any single user group and say you're not doing it right or you did it wrong. But that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is, can you learn how to do it right and be a part of this outdoor rec ecosystem that is supportive and helpful and wants to grow trail systems across all different types of trails.
Yeah.
And understand, there are places that should be foot only. There's a reason that there's places that are foot only. It doesn't make sense to allow to anything other than foot travel in swampy places and wet areas, right? That's just not going to end well.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
On the other hand, you have a lot of places out here that are perfect for motorized recreation, whether that's dual sport motorcycles or side-by-side trails or four-wheel drive use. I mean, you do have to step back and realize how devastated this landscape has been a century ago.
Right.
So
that's actually an amazing success story.
Yes, it's an amazing success story.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons that they became public lands. Was the state sort of stepped in once they were devastated, clear-cut landscapes and said, well, what corporate didn't want them anymore, and so that is the genesis of a lot of our public lands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I want, and again, when we talk about different user groups, with very limited exception, most people do multiple parts of outdoor rec, right?
Right.
It's rare that you find a mountain biker that's like, I've never been in a boat, or I've never rock climbed, right? Or I've never fly fished. It's rare that you meet a fly fisherman that's like, I've never driven my four-wheel drive truck back on the dirt roads to find a fly fishing stream, right?
Sure.
So this whole idea of like, we have the most amazing dirt road network.
Yes.
And dirt roads.
I actually did a whole segment on dirt roads once.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
So, and dirt roads are a destination in and of themselves. To just be able to go out and drive around on dirt roads, not worry about getting hit by a 18-wheeler in traffic. Just to slow down, put the windows down, see what you see.
Breathe
ride around and explore.
Yeah.
And what you see in the areas that we map, because we really only map pretty special places, it's hard to even prioritize a greatest hits of the roads in there. Because it's not like going to a national park where you're like, where's the designated scenic drive? I mean, like right here, we're doing this podcast in Millheim, Pennsylvania. You are 5 minutes from disappearing on dirt roads that are as scenic as any scenic drive you'll find in America.
Yeah. And a lot of people just use them to get from here to there.
Yeah.
Because they're just a road.
Yeah.
But they're awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so we want to unlock that landscape. And then we also want to include all those gateway communities around that. So that's another thing that's different about our maps. Lots of times, if you get a state park or state forest map, they're only interested in their property. So they sort of cut them off at the edge.
Yeah.
But that's not how we enter and exit these landscapes. And within the private landscapes, in the communities, there's also a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of neat things to see.
Sure.
So we want to pull out the covered bridges. We want to pull out some of those smaller or not so small parks. A park like Coburn Park. What an amazing fly fishing access spot.
Yeah.
It would fall through the cracks on a lot of maps.
Yeah. No, it's a great little spot.
And again, the fundamental difference in our maps is we're in the landscapes that we map. So we're
Gotcha.
in them, going to those communities, and we're doing the work, we're doing the field work, but we're also meeting with the community. We're also looking at the assets. We're also, deciding, does this belong on the map? Does this not belong on the map? And that's a tricky part, right? We don't put everything on the map.
Right.
And so there's a fine line between preserving the outdoor rec resource, and exploiting it.
And opening it up. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And so those would be the two extremes, right?
Yeah.
The two far ends of the spectrum. Exploiting it, meaning like, everybody come here, maybe pay $5 entry fee, come look at this amazing thing.
Yeah.
That's like full exploitation of it. Full preservation is like, no, nobody's allowed there. Like, you can't go there anymore.
Right. There's too many people stepping.
Right. And so, of course, we want to find the comfortable difference in that. And those are decisions we make on the ground, like, well, this is an interesting spot, but I don't think we want to really call a lot of attention to it right now. It's fragile. It'll get trampled. It'll get overrun.
Yeah, you have to consider that.
Yeah.
So, again, this is way out of order on my script, but it came up, and as I was writing the questions for this, I got to thinking about Philadelphia. Now, I've ridden the Pennypack Trail from one side of the city to the other. I've gone down Forbidden Drive to the Thomas Mill Covered Bridge. Any chance of an urban purple lizard map?
That's funny you mentioned that. We've talked about doing an urban line of maps, and we've looked at doing something like that in Philly. We did our first statewide.
Okay.
So that's maybe the exact opposite spectrum instead of zeroing in on a city.
Right.
But we have our Pennsylvania outdoor rec maps going on to be our most popular map.
Oh, okay.
And that shows all the rail trails.
Okay.
Any rail trail over 4 miles or so is on that map. So it shows those connections all around Philly. And it shows how much
the network's pretty good down
you
there.
can travel.
Yeah.
And it also lets people see what the future holds with the idea of connecting those trails to each other.
Yeah, man, I just got to throw in here, when we moved up from Bucks County to here, and I was involved in organizing to get a rail trail put in through a SEPTA route that had been abandoned out to Newtown, Pennsylvania, in Bucks. And I just got an email from the group last week that said construction on that trail may start next year. I'm like, really? I was working on that in 2015.
That's very typical.
Takes so long.
Rail trails are long end game plans.
Yeah.
To get a section put together, a decade's actually a good
Not bad.
timeline. Yeah. A lot of those projects, they'll go 2 decades or more, or they'll be sort of, the work is done, and it's just waiting, maybe for landowner change, maybe for some opportunity to move it forward.
I think this one was a lot of convincing the neighbors that people aren't going to be looking in their bedroom windows.
There is that. There's a knot in my backyard.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as soon as it happens, people realize that's not a concern, and their property value just jumped nicely because they're on a rail trail. Yeah. And in Pennsylvania, that's another unique aspect of Pennsylvania where the recreation is just spectacular. The amount of rail trails in PA is huge. It's got to be up there in the top 5 of
Really?
Yeah, it might,
I didn't realize it was
might even be higher. I should look into that.
Oh, yeah, between the Gap Trail and Pine Creek, that's a lot right there, and the Philly cycle.
And a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that type of recreation so that's another thing you'll find on our map. If there's a rail trail on there, we're going to call that out. And we're going to call that out in a way that makes it really easy to see and read and use. And I think that's the other big thing. I mean, we have a really strong following of customers that just love our maps.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of that.
That's why we're doing this thing, because people kept saying, why don't you talk to Mike?
And part of that is the content, right? Is they want to explore this landscape. They know there's stuff out there that they haven't found, they didn't know about. They didn't understand how the connections work. GPS fails quickly and tremendously, spectacularly, trying to traverse our state forests. They don't know what roads are gated. They don't know what roads dead end. They don't know what roads need four-wheel drive or high clearance. They don't know what roads require you to ride through a stream.
Oh,
There's a lot of things like that we call out on our maps that
because again, you briefly touched on this. You actually go out.
We drove those roads
and go there.
Oh yeah. We drove those roads. We made the determination. This is you're going to want a high clearance vehicle for this.
I noticed that on your legends are incredibly detailed. Because that's one of the types of road on the legend.
Right.
And
we'll show you
high clearance.
We'll show you this is a hiking trail. This is a shared use trail. You can mountain bike, hike, trail run, take a horse on. Maybe this is a equestrian specific area with an equestrian trail system that you can also most likely use on another thing. We'll also call out the motorized trails if there's a dual sport trail system for motorcycles, which there is in Bald Eagle, where you can actually ride a motorcycle on trails. And then, of course, just the ability to go through the dirt roads. Right. And then with all the surrounding communities, those gateway communities with their rail trails, their different ways to access the forest. And that also lets people think about it in a broader way, because our maps let you get in the car and go explore. It's funny how quickly we've lost that ability with sort of this GPS takeover. So now people are just plugging in their destination.
Yeah, they're not really exploring or taking a wrong turn.
They're following the blue dot to get to the place they want to go the quickest.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's fine if you're trying to navigate a strange city to get your doctor's appointment on time.
Yeah.
Or find an Indian restaurant in a new place. But that is not conducive to actually understanding a landscape and immersing yourself in a landscape and being nurtured by that landscape and enjoying that landscape. That, for most people, that starts with a drive with your windows down, going 15 miles an hour and being blown away at what you're seeing.
This is definitely something I wanted to ask you about. How did you get started on this? Because I mean, I've talked to a lot of people in the course of doing this podcast who fell into things. I didn't intend to do this, but here I am. Whereas this actually seems to have been what you wanted to do.
Yes and no. Okay. I did fall into it in a way in that it was sort of built on life experiences in a way that you don't really understand. The life experiences you're building are leading up to something that might be leveraged to a career later. I spent my 20s not in college. I went to college as a freshman, and I left after my freshman year at Penn State.
Okay. Are you from around here originally?
I did actually move here when I was a teenager. I finished high school in State College. And so I went to Penn State into engineering because somebody told me that's what I should do. And of course, I quickly learned all I liked was art classes, and I didn't like engineering classes.
Okay.
And so I took that information and I just left. I was like, all right, this is time out on this. And I worked in the outdoor rec industry. I got into working in bicycle retail. It was the first generation of the mountain bike. I got into racing mountain bikes, being involved in being in the woods, hiking, backpacking, driving around, exploring. Really just doing...
Roughly when and where?
Just doing outdoor rec, largely here in central PA, but I also traveled a lot. I would be in sort of... And when you're in outdoor rec, you get sort of a seasonal lifestyle in a way. So you can... In that time of my life, it was lovely. You could take 4 weeks off or 6 weeks off, get in your $1,000 car and put your bike on the roof and blast out to a place like Moab and just hang out for a few weeks.
Yeah.
As we get older, it's harder to do that.
Yes.
And that was a small niche. That was like a group of people that did that back then. Now it's exploded to van life or overlanding or things like that. But it was the same thing. We were just, young people in cars with toys on the roof, going out to explore. I went back to Penn State and I went into the geography department because my love of exploration and being outside, geography looked like it would open up potentially different career fields that I hadn't considered that might largely allow me to be outside and do some travel and stuff, hence, geography. I took an entry-level cartography class, which was one of the first ones taught on a computer. Okay. And it was very crude back then. It was a floppy disk era computer.
Wow, okay.
But I realized that I really liked to draw maps, and I just took it from there. And I never really looked back. And that is one of the other, probably like the second half of the equation, that yes, our map has this utility to it, this grand utility to unlock these landscapes and let people get out there and see things they didn't know were there. Even people who have lived in those landscapes their whole life. That's like I love that when the map comes out and we show it to locals and they're like, I didn't know that road connected over to that road. I didn't know that stream. I didn't know the headwaters were up there.
Yeah.
Like, it lets them see it in a way that they haven't seen the landscape that they've been immersed in their whole life. But they say cartography is a blend of art and science, and we are very much on the art side.
Yeah.
Like we are grounded in science, and we're grounded in data, and we're in ground truthing and making sure it's accurate, cartographically accurate. But then that's like, I equate that to an architectural blueprint. And if you're a layperson, you look at an architectural blueprint, you can't visualize what the house is going to look like, right? You need the artist's rendering of the house from not the blueprint. So we're basically building the maps. You start in our world, it is a blueprint, and then it blossoms into this beautiful piece of graphic design and art that's what draws you in. That's what draws you into the map. And you literally say you read a map, you lay out our map on the kitchen table, and 2 or 3 people just get lost for a few minutes because you're in your head. You're following, you're making connections, you're thinking how cool it would be. Like, I could drive over to this state park, then we could go to this viewpoint at the top of this ridge, then we could go down to this lake, then we could come around out to this little town I've been curious about, grab a bite to eat, and then we can come home, right?
And
you can't do that.
I was just
GPS
looking at your Pine Creek map.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I probably wouldn't have thought about this if I wasn't trying to figure out how you do things. But I loved that the Pine Creek map was set up almost horizontally because it makes you look at the stuff 20 miles to the east.
Right.
Which if you were just doing a strip map of the trail, you'd never see that.
Exactly. Yeah, we want to open up your horizons. We want you to know that yes, the whole world comes to ride their bike on the Pine Creek Rail Trail, and most of them have a great experience and they leave. They never realize, like they're in the Pine Creek, they're in the gorge, and they're looking up at the 2 amazing ridge tops on both sides. It doesn't occur to them there's a hiking trail on that ridge top. There's people up there looking down on you as a little ant speck riding your bike below. All they see is if you're wearing a yellow shirt, they might see the yellow shirt. If you're wearing a gray shirt, you're invisible. So, it doesn't occur to them. And that they can drive this amazing network of dirt roads back there.
Yeah.
And to the credit of DCNR, Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, that oversees all the state forests, the vast, vast majority, like 98% of the dirt roads in Pennsylvania state forests, you can drive any car on. I mean, you can go.
They're actually in pretty good shape.
They're in very good shape.
Yeah.
You don't need a Jeep. You don't need a SUV or a truck. Now, there are roads that you will need that for short sections, for a mile or 2, and you will not be happy if you find yourself there in a regular car. And that's part of what we do. We call that feature out. We show that's a high clearance road, and we want people to know that you need a high clearance vehicle to drive that road. And some people will call us and say, "Hey, I saw that Jeep trail, and I went out there with my big lifted Jeep, and it was really easy." And I say, "Well, that's not the purpose of it. It's not exactly supposed to be a magnet to come explore it, although it can be. It can work that way.
Sure.
And that's fine, because if you have a Jeep, those are the ones you want to look for.
Yeah.
But in a Pennsylvania state forest, you're not going to be challenged in a Jeep. Now, if you drove that road in a minivan, you would be challenged, and you might leave part of your minivan behind. And that's what we're trying to prevent, right? We don't want the family that's out there exploring to look at that and be like, we shouldn't take this. There's always another way to get there on a smoother road.
Yeah.
But the ability to access our forests and the ability to really do any and every activity that you want in there. You can go disappear and backpack for days on end. You can go for a 2-hour trail run or a 2-hour hike. You can go for a simple walk. And the type of features. So our map sort of opens that up to both utility and the artistic side. You can clearly see this trail will put us on a ridge. You know, what's nice about ridgetop trails, you're already at the top of the mountain. You don't have to hike up the mountain, right? You park at the top of the mountain and you walk basically flat in the context of an undulating rocky ridge. It might not be easy hiking because we have a lot of rocks on our ridges, but it's relatively flat.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you can look at those maps and see, oh, well, if we park down here, you know, that's 1,000 feet straight up to get to the ridge, to do that loop. But then you might, you know, to do a loop, you get to come down 1,000 feet. If you want to go to a wetlands or a bog environment, you can find those. If you want to do ridgetop, if you want to go to state parks where you'll find infrastructure. So state parks are parcels adjacent or within state forests.
Okay.
State forests typically
Unimproved.
very unimproved.
Yeah.
You know, a parking area is the best, maybe the occasional restroom at the busier parking areas. But a state park will have restrooms. It will often have a feature. You know, there may be a lake that you can swim at, a swimming beach, or maybe or you can kayak on it, or you can fish out of it. There may be a campground, picnic areas, pavilions, a bathhouse, maybe a concession where you can get a hot dog and a Coke. Like it's suddenly a little village in the middle of Nowheresville. So, and a lot of people, you can go there and you can camp out of that area and then go explore all those other things. And again, like we don't want to cater to any one user group. We really want the map to appeal to anybody that's out there exploring.
I want to ask you about when you first started. When you first started, you did the Rothrock map, and then you went and did another project. You did the Historical Atlas of Maine. I mean, you were part of the team that did the Historical Atlas of Maine.
Well, I was the cartographer. I was pretty much a solo act as a lead designer on that piece.
Yeah.
And that was a fantastic opportunity. You know, my career took me from Penn State out west to Trails Illustrated, National Geographic maps in Colorado, where I was designing their outdoor rec maps in a digital environment.
Okay, that was good. Okay.
And I saw Colorado, and I saw how Colorado marketed their outdoor rec in a way that Pennsylvania didn't. I saw that in Colorado, a dirt road was a destination. And in Pennsylvania, a dirt road was a road waiting to be paved. And I saw that, I did enjoy that landscape. I had a great time out there for a couple of years. A lot of travel, a lot of adventuring in the Rocky Mountains, which is great. But it's a very difficult landscape to access, to get into and get out. There's a lot of driving involved.
Okay. Yeah,
right?
there's just more distances.
It's very common to drive a couple hours to go for a hike or go for a mountain bike ride. Out west, the concept of distance is different than east.
Yeah.
We don't particularly say, hey, I got a great hike I want to do. Let's drive to Pittsburgh and do it, right? Because we have all this hiking right outside.
It's all right here, yeah.
Pennsylvania, I was like, I really want to make a map of Rothrock because I feel like it has world-class mountain biking. There's world-class hiking, world-class backpacking. The recreation opportunities are great. It's a forest I love. It's a forest I grew up in exploring. So I left a perfectly good career position with arguably the most prestigious map publishing company in America. And I said, I'm going to go make my own maps in Pennsylvania. And everybody thought I was crazy, which I was to a degree.
This was something I wanted to ask you about because you went from a digital environment to literally to, I don't know, it looks like you're taking a step back going to a paper map. What was the thought process? Why did you think that paper maps could be a viable business?
Because they continue to do things that digital can't. You can't beat opening up a paper map on a kitchen table and staring at it and getting lost in it and putting together all the possible connections and routes. And our maps are a quantum leap above in terms of content, curated content to the outdoor rec audience because we're out there, we're deciding if this is really a boat launch or not a boat launch, if this is really a place people should come and have a good time, or if it's kind of just a muddy, crappy part of the forest better left alone. You can, and again, we spend a lot of time on digital platforms, right? Making the maps and cross-referencing what we can, but you can't really get that level of understanding looking at a Google Earth or a Google
phone.
Maps. Well, certainly a phone. I mean, both a phone and a screen. I mean, our maps are 2 feet by 3 feet.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the Pine Creek Rail Trail map, the two sides of that map, the Pine Creek Rail Trail is 6 feet long. That's what you have to work with.
Right.
So your phone is 3 inches long.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really helps to look at that map and get a sense of the distances and what's along the way and what you can do and what loops you could do and what other things you can do. Whereas if you're just following the blue dot on the middle of the Pine Creek Rail Trail, it doesn't tell you anything else.
Just tells you where there's a turn.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I really felt, and also just the artist in me, like I realized that I have a talent to make amazingly beautiful maps. So it was really, let's use digital to push the art side. And even, and that was a radical thought in 2000. We're 26 years later and they're not pushing the artistic side of digital cartography. They're still very utilitarian and kind of ugly. And there's a whiz-bang feature to seeing the aerial photography of the train or being able to do a 3D flyover or something of it. But you need the artistic representation of a map where there's abstraction happening in the design so that you understand it. And you can't, so far, I haven't seen a digital tool that does that. It's nice. You always have that. You can open that up and look at it.
Yeah.
But having our map is going to lead you to places and unlock landscapes in a way that the digital environment still fails to do.
Yeah.
And if I knew how to make them do it, I would perhaps put my talents there. But I still feel like it's hard to beat. And over the last 20 years, how many outdoor rec hiking apps have come and gone? Like, they're on top of their game for a 2 or 3 year window, and then they get bought or get closed or go bankrupt, or it just doesn't. It fails to actually be sustained.
And here you are,
and the paper map's still standing. No batteries required.
Speaking of,
and we say paper, but they're not really they're not really paper. We print on synthetics, so we call it a paper map because it does fold like paper, but it's pretty tear proof. It's waterproof. It's very rugged. It's not going to wear out.
And was that from the get go, or?
Yeah, that was from the get go. It was interesting when I started Purple Lizard, and the first map came out on the waterproof paper.
Wait there. Why Purple Lizard? I meant to ask that, and I don't want to forget it.
Purple Lizard was a name I came up with because it was unique and it could be represented with just a lizard. Purple was my favorite color.
Pretty simple.
I had a thing for lizards when I was a kid.
Okay.
I lived out west. Lizards ran around our patio all the time. And, there's lizards in all lower 48 states.
Okay.
When I ran that name past like small business incubator advisory groups, when I was trying to think about launching it, they all said it was a terrible choice. Nobody got it. Nobody got it. But again, my background, I came out of, the subculture sports of skateboarding and surfing and mountain biking and snowboarding. And then you get into map world as a career and it's like, oh, Rand McNally, right? There were no hip, cool map companies. I mean, National Geographic, but again, it's a staid, tried and true,
like the closest you get is Lonely Planet, right? And that's not
Lonely Planet was the kind of they were kind of on the right track, and there are some boutique companies out in Colorado and out west that were along that line. They thought it should be called Mike's Maps or something like that, which is exactly not what I wanted. I wanted people to not understand what it was.
Okay,
what was the point?
Yeah,
what is that?
Yeah, get curious about it.
Yeah, and it worked tremendously well. I mean, I love it. I get a kick out of it. It certainly stood the test of time and beyond. So it is its own brand now.
Yeah. No, I love the material the map is printed on. It's durable. It holds the folds, so it folds up again. It doesn't get manky in the moisture.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can use it as a makeshift rain shelter if you need to.
Right. Yeah. More of the purple lizard, the little purple lizards on the map. Tell people about that.
So we put little purple lizards on the map, and in the legend, we're vague. We say this could mean anything.
Yes.
So this could mean anything. think we say scenic view, local legend. And that's the truth. We don't, there'll be purple lizards out there and they won't have a label and they'll just be in a strange spot. And if you get there, you'll see what it is.
And it is obvious when you get there.
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be.
And you don't have a cheat code anywhere or anything
nope.
like that?
People have asked for that. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. So this bridges the gap between like what you put on the map and what you don't put on the map. When we're out there and we find neat spots, it could just be like most of them are vistas. A view shed at the top. And it may have a label if it's a formal one like Penn's View. But there's other ones that are just as stunning, but they don't have a name. And they're just, some you have to hike to. Might just be a clearing in the trees. Could be a really old growth pocket of tall, magnificent trees. Could be a covered bridge. Could be a cave. Could be any kind of an interesting thing. There's a chance if you're using an older map or if we haven't figured it out on the updates, that's the thing with overlooks, right? Trees grow.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So if it's not a formal overlook, it's a great overlook. But you go back.
Maybe you want to go in the winter.
You go back 8 years later and suddenly all the saplings are 20 feet tall.
Yeah.
Things like that. It could be an old dilapidated barn or a cabin or a footprint of a ghost town, or it's hard to say.
Yeah.
People love to go out and just find them. Some are more cryptic than others. Some, depending on time of year, you might be like, "What is?" There's not, could be could have been a vernal pool that you're there in the fall and there's no vernal pool.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say.
You have I don't want community is an overused word. Your blog on the website actually makes really good reading because.
Our adventure blogs.
Yeah, and because some of the people are, clearly not polished writers, but they have great stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those are our customers.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
I wondered about that.
Yeah. No, those are our customers.
Yeah.
Basically people come out of the woodwork that have used our maps and they're like, "Hey, I used your map and I did this backpacking trip and it was spectacular. Can I write it up? Can I, I took all these pictures."
Yeah.
And so we do in those cases, and we do pay them for that, but it's not.
Oh, okay.
But we don't go out and
So
we're not really soliciting them. They're just if they come to us and we read them and it's good. And I like that it's not polished, right? Because it's authentic.
yes, it is authentic.
And let's just talk about authentic for a minute.
Sure.
Because that's what we're losing.
Yes.
That's as a society. That's what we're losing. And if you talk about the strength and the value of a paper map, I think authenticity is a really good term for that because you open up that map, you study it, you make your own mental map of it, you put together where you want to go and how you're going to do that. That's becoming something that people just don't do because they're like, I want to go to the state park. Tell my car I want to go to the state park and it tells me how to get there. It doesn't. It just tells you how to get there.
Yeah.
That's the fastest way. If you look at our map, be like, well, if I go this way, I'll go along this amazing stream. I'll go find this vista. I'll jump this ridge. We'll go up this valley. There's all these fun ways to get there. That the point isn't to get there super fast.
Your maps seem to be all about the beauty and attraction of distraction.
Yeah, that's a great line. That's a great line.
Yeah.
Because in the same way that people get immersed, they lose themselves when they're reading our map, and then that's the experience they're looking for. When you go out in the woods, I want you to lose yourself out in the woods. That's the whole goal: is to leave this artificial reality, which now is like more truthful than ever.
Yes.
This, with whatever we're creating with the raw hours on our phones or in front of screens, that's not in our DNA. We're not supposed to spend that much time looking at screens. The amount of content that we're subjected to, that we choose to subject ourselves to, sure, the internet's great. Aspects of AI are great. Getting access to information is great. But we all fall into the trap of sort of mindlessly
doing more,
consuming
and more and more.
Information that's not necessarily helpful, not necessarily hopeful, not necessarily really making us better people or feel better about the world. So the whole goal is to disconnect from that. Go out into the woods.
It's really hard to go out there and go to one of these places on this map and find something that's bad for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And have a real experience. I mean, let your eyes focus at all different levels as you look through a forest and look down a stream. Engage all your senses out there. I mean, it's super valuable. We put this list of things to do on our maps. It says hiking, biking, boating, running, camping, exploring, and contemplating. Because contemplating
It's a big thing.
is a very valuable aspect of our maps. The ability for somebody to grab one of these maps and disappear out there and find a spot where nobody else is at and to sit and contemplate. We all run into time periods in our life where that's exactly what we need.
Yeah.
To just get out, sit by a stream, sit on a mountaintop, and just
I would definitely
clear your
argue
head
that
for a little
need
bit.
is not too strong a word either.
It is a need.
Yeah.
It is a need.
Yeah.
And it's something like if you look, evolutionary perspective on it, as humans, we always had that up until very, very recently.
Mm-hmm.
So as a species, our brains and our body is supposed to have time spent in the woods or in a field or by a stream doing nothing but just observing. And we don't get much of that anymore.
And we're good at it.
That's
what
we're very
makes me
good at
crazy.
it. Yeah, we're very good at it. And it's very good for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that, I think it's kind of like good for what ails you, kind of an approach on the map.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share the outdoor recreation opportunities that the forest offers for people. And then I also want them to get out there because that helps make them good stewards of that landscape. Mm-hmm. That's the back and forth as the public. If we don't use those forests and landscapes,
they're going to go away.
We're going to lose them.
Yeah.
So if you can get involved supporting local trail organizations or local trail clubs, supporting some of the other statewide groups that we work with, like Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation, that helps support all the state parks. There's a lot of statewide groups. If you like rail trails, like the Pennsylvania Environmental Council is one of the reasons we have so many rail trails. There's all these ways behind the scenes that you can sort of get involved or help. And that's really important. Whether that's if you decide you like backpacking or hiking this section of trail and it's overgrown and you want to go out there with some loppers on your hike and cut back some sticker bushes for the next hiker, that's great.
I mean, I've done some of that over on Buffalo Valley.
Yeah. And that's great because the trails our public lands don't have a groundskeeping team. Mm-hmm. Like there's a mythology that somehow your state forester is out there with clippers opening up your trail for you to hike. That's not happening. In very rare cases. There are like the Mid-State Trail and the Standing Stone Trail. There's organizations behind that they try to have people adopt sections, but it's just local blood, sweat, and tear level involvement.
Yeah.
And we hope that our maps get people out there and see all these great things to do, get out of their heads for a little bit, and then also hopefully find a way to sort of give back to that landscape because it's everything, right? It can be portrayed as a healing landscape, but it's also a very exciting, stimulating landscape. Mm-hmm. Whether you're boating in it or trail running or rock climbing, all the sort of more exciting sports on that side of the spectrum. Not quite sure why, fly fishing is like both meditative and exciting.
Right.
But basically, you can find pockets where the river is challenging and exciting, and you can find lakes where you can just sort of float along on casually and stare at the shore and wait for eagles to fly overhead and
I
see what you see.
Talked to my neighbor this morning. She was headed out to they have a place on the lake up in north of Snowshoe, and she's like, just going to float around this weekend.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, people come to explore the dirt roads, and then for those of us who live here and have the luxury of spending a lot of time in these forests, these sort of things that happen to us are very commonplace. But then when I talk to people, they're like, we saw deer. It's like, I see deer in my front yard. But I got you.
Yeah.
We saw a beaver, an active beaver dam. You know, we saw a black bear. We saw a bear with cubs. We saw a coyote. We saw a red fox. We saw eagles. We saw ospreys, right?
People get very excited about eagles.
Yes, yes. And it's great that the forest has this ecosystem and all of those species are pretty well represented. And you can see them out there. You can have that experience.
Still waiting to see elk. I've tried.
Okay.
I haven't seen them yet.
Well, so we got you covered.
Okay.
The map we're about to publish.
Okay.
It's called Dark Skies.
Uh-huh.
And the Dark Skies map covers from Renovo to Coudersport. It picks up where our Pine Creek map is and it goes west. And it's all of Susquehannock State Forest.
Okay.
Parts of Elk State Forest and parts of Sproul State Forest. And parts of that on the Emporium side, on the western side, going down towards Moshannon, that is
elk territory. Okay.
There's a high chance that just driving around you will see elk.
Is there a good time of year or they're just out there?
It varies. They are always out there.
Okay.
So you may always see it. They're more active during mating season, so they'll be running around and more active, and you can hear them.
I have to be honest, that is something I'd rather see from my car. I would really rather see that from my car.
Well, most aspects of seeing elk, most people would rather see from their car.
Okay.
You know, an elk is not a trivial animal.
No!
So if you do encounter an elk when you're backpacking or walking, you want to give it plenty of room and just observe it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're magnificent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's people don't expect to find elk in Pennsylvania.
No.
Yeah, so
but
that's
you're right
a project.
About people seeing deer. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been working with the PA Wilds on this, and the PA Wilds is one of those organizations.
Oh, great group.
And people don't understand. They hear the PA Wilds. The PA Wilds is over 2 million acres. You know, it's a huge piece of north central, sort of western north central Pennsylvania, and it's some of the remotest landscapes you'll find on the East Coast, and it's right here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
you know, people again, Pennsylvania traditionally hasn't marketed their remote outdoor landscapes. You know, people hear about the Adirondacks. They know about the Adirondacks. They know about the Catskills.
Yep.
I mean, the Catskills is pretty.
Yeah.
But there's a tremendous amount more recreation happening in the PA Wilds than the Catskills, right? They're just 3 hours apart. The PA Wilds has the Catskills beat hands down.
Except on the marketing.
Yeah, except on the marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got a mission, really.
Yeah, it's become a mission, I guess. I mean, the mission...
not to get weird about it, but...
Well, so yes, you could say there's a corporate mission if corporate applies to Purple Lizard. There's all 5 of us.
You have a really nice looking truck. We'll give you that.
But there is a mission for that. But on a personal level, speaking for myself and for our team, what we want to do is produce the prettiest map, the best map that we've had a chance to make.
Okay.
And so that actually, we do that. We do it very, very well, and we probably do it to our own detriment in terms of from a bean counter perspective. Because we we pretty easily put 1,000 hours into a map. There's people are like, why aren't you doing 5-6 maps a year? Because it takes us 18 months, 24 months to make a map. That's not working on that same map every day for 2 years, but there's an ebb and flow with this type of work where you have to find 3 days or 5 days to get out in the field and drive around a whole section on the map, bring that information back, apply it digitally to the project to update the map to where you've been, and figure out where else you need to go, do the research on who are the locals you want to talk to in that area, go out and meet with them. You know, we try to really immerse ourselves in those communities. We try to do overnights in those communities as well as overnights camping in the forest. So we want to experience what it's like to have the remote experience. We also want to know what it's like, what's happening in those towns. Every small town has its own sort of rhythm. You know, what's happening early in the morning and in the evening. Is this one of these towns that starts at 6 in the morning and then is shut down at 4 in the afternoon? You know, is there any kind of a nightlife? Is there what's the employment base? What are people doing? Is there a store that would make sense to sell our maps? That's the other thing that's unique about Purple Lizard. you'll find our maps in places you don't expect, right? So coffee shops, hardware stores.
I mean, the first place I saw it was at Elk Creek.
Yeah, Elk Creek, a microbrewery.
Yeah.
Right, at a brew pub.
Yeah.
So there's a couple reasons for that, right? Part of it is we're working and mapping really rural, remote landscapes. So you can find our maps in an REI, but you're not going to find an REI in a place
Right.
most likely the place
Right.
that we're making a map. So there's a side of that where we're in these small towns, and those people, they're part of the outdoor rec ecosystem, even though you don't think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the people that are stopping at a coffee shop, at a microbrewery, at a hardware store, they're people that are out here recreating.
Yeah.
You know, they came out of the woods
Right.
to get a beer, to
Stock
get a
up.
meal, to get a coffee, to get more propane at the hardware store, to find a grocery store to stock up, and then disappear back into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
But they're passing through these communities in and out. And so that's really unique, where a lot of our biggest dealers are these sort of non-traditional places. They've never sold maps before. They're surprised that they can sell maps. But they're so used to having people who are lost, or people saying, hey, how do,
Oh, okay.
can you tell me how to get to this fishing hole? Or
Like
can you
said,
tell me
that's
how to
part of
get
the
to this
ecosystem,
waterfall?
too. Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
now, instead of having a staff member have to sort of take some time out and jot some bad directions on a napkin that may or may not work, they can just be like, oh, hey, you should
Check
look at
this
this
out.
map.
Yeah.
I'll show you where it is and where we are, but here's all the different ways to get there and all these other things to see and do.
Yeah.
And then again, just like when they open that map, most likely they've never seen a map that looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that usually draws them in right away, because they're like, well, this is different. And then,
Yeah.
then they get drawn in a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And then they realize that, oh, well, I'm here. I'm camping up here. I see where I'm going. And they realize, like, wow, I'm only playing in like a 6 square inch area of this 2 foot
There's
by
all this
3
other
foot
stuff.
map.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
look at all these places I could be in 25 minutes.
It is honestly, it's one of the things I love the most about your maps, that they're not hyper focused.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a big place out there. I want everybody to get out there and enjoy it, and in whatever way you want. Driving is how I unlock those landscapes as a teenager and a young person.
Yeah.
Right. That's how most people do. I mean, national park visitation. The biggest part of national park visitation is what they call windshield tourism.
Oh,
It's
okay.
the people that drive through the national park.
Yeah.
They have a hotel. They're not camping in the national park.
Right.
They have a hotel on the outskirts of town, but as part of their day trip, they're driving up. They might drive up and then go for a hike and then come back and drive out.
Yeah.
But, there's nothing wrong with just driving. Just going out for a Sunday drive, right?
Yeah.
It used to be part of the vernacular,
Yeah.
cultural,
Yeah.
the Sunday drive. Just going out for a drive.
Yeah.
Aimlessly. See
Yeah, I
what
mean, we used to
find.
do that in southern Lancaster County. We'd just drive around dirt
Right.
roads and hills, and yeah.
Yeah, it's a lost art.
Yeah.
That's another thing we hear from our customer base, is how much when they parents love it when they realize they handed their 14-year-old kid one of our maps and they were like totally into it,
Nice.
because they were like, you can hand them the map and say, here we are, where do you want to go?
Yeah.
He'd be like, whoa, look at these cool spots. Okay, well then how are we going to get there? And then they can be like, okay, we're going to be on this road, and then we're going to take a left on this road.
And you can follow right along.
You can,
Yeah.
you can follow right along.
Yeah. And then they're hooked.
They are. They're hooked. And again, it's engaging their brains in a full featured way that I think again goes back to our DNA and our origins, because we, as humans, we navigated with mental maps long before we navigated with paper maps, and
Oh, yeah.
now there's a risk that we're losing the ability to navigate on our own at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you don't even know where you went. You just followed the...
right.
Yeah.
You don't quite know what landscape you went through.
Yeah. Got to stay aware. We talked about authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that, and you also mentioned, which I wanted to follow up on, but you were on a roll and I didn't want to interrupt you that one time. I know I interrupted you a lot. Ground truthing.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is, I mean, you're making a certain amount of promise with these maps, that it's going to be there, that it's to the best of your abilities, this is what it's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that responsibility?
I do. I do. That keeps me up at night.
Does it?
It does. It does. No, it truly does. So our dark skies map is off at the printers now, and literally we just gave the okays to the color proofs yesterday. So the printing process means you send off your finished file.
Mm-hmm.
So that in and of itself is a stressful time where our whole team is looking at it and like, what did we miss? What did we add? What do we want to do differently? What's working? What's not working? Or some unanswered questions. Then when the proofs come back, that's your last chance to be like, all right, did it work? So part of that is to make sure that what you did in your design from the computer actually went through the softwares that happen in printing and faithfully reproduced correctly, right? Is the green the right green? Is it too dark? Is it, there's things like that we may want to address. And then we sign off on the color proofs, and then we wait 3 weeks or so, and maps will arrive. I literally, in those areas where we're waiting for the color proof, almost every night I'll wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning with my subconscious is very active, and it says, did you put a lizard at that spot? Or did you remember to show that road's closed? Did you remember that trail's rerouted on the other side of the stream? All these things float, and then I'll be really anxious, and I'll go open up the file and be like, did we do it? Oh yeah, we did it. It's okay. It's good. We did it. So yeah, there is I think that's an artistic burden. I mean, if you're a writer, when you send your manuscript off, you're second guessing yourself tremendously.
Always.
And when you read your book, you're like, oh, I wouldn't have phrased it that way. Why, right? You cannot get a read. So that's the other thing in terms of like, we are like a craft brew of maps. So it's small batch.
Yes.
So you'll be hard we like to do an updated edition 2-3 years intervals.
Things change
when there's enough things to change on it. So we do get to revisit them. And then again, sort of like I mentioned, the artistic side, in that 3-year window, our design team, we have come up with better ways to do certain things.
Yeah.
So then when that map comes up for revision, it's not as simple as being like, oh, okay, this trail is rerouted and this road was open and this road was closed and this new campground is here. It's also like, oh gosh, we did it that way. Like,
we don't do that anymore. We haven't done that for a year.
Change that font, change that color, change that line weight, make that easier to read. And that's the idea, is that each map gets better and better artistically through the series. So when I go back and look at the very first maps, they work and they're lovely. As I get older, I'll tell you, the fonts all get bigger. I look at the maps that are the first group. I'm like, wow, those are some tiny letters I put on there. But that's also, that just speaks to legibility in general. We're trying to introduce different fonts that we might feel are more legible. Subtle changes in the color palette. Sometimes we get, as software tools, we get access to new design tools that we can make things look differently or soften hard edges up here and there and do things like that to make it prettier.
And I assume you get feedback from users as well.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And certainly, like I'm always nervous when a new map comes out, because there'll be the people that tell us what we missed or what we, what could change or things like that. But I mean, when you look at how many, I don't know what the raw count is, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands of elements on that map. And we have filtered through digital data from state agencies and local agencies, data that we've collected, online resources to figure out what's real and what isn't real. And, we've certainly done our best effort on it. So it should be
no AI hallucinations on these maps.
No. And it will be the most, detailed, amazing map of that landscape ever produced. So that's our goal. And we hope every map lives up to that. So it's a high standard.
Yeah.
Can keep you up at night.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. I feel like we could sit here and talk for another hour, but I got to wrap it up so it fits on WSOV. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Sure.
Boy, it was hard to stop talking to him. I was having a great time. One thing, Mike did contact me after the interview and wanted to clear up something. He misspoke about the size of the Hammersley Wild area. It's a bit over 30,000 acres, not 80,000. But it's still the largest roadless area in the state. And I thank him for the correction. And he's right, that stuff will keep you up at nights. So I did make a promise, and last Friday morning I aired up the tires on my bike, gave the cables and seat a quick check, and grabbed my trail gear and helmet. I strapped the bike on the back of the Subaru and headed north to Lock Haven. Crossed the western branch and wove my way north on Route 664 until I found the turnoff for Lower Pine Bottom Road. I took this narrow, but, well-maintained dirt road down off the plateau to the Waterville parking lot for the Pine Creek Trail. Why go this way when it would have been easier and quicker to run PA 220 to Route 44 and then drive north directly along Pine Creek? Well, I wasn't looking for quick. I was looking for what I found. A slow, solitary, and quiet rumble through the woods, trees arching overhead to let through spears of summer sunlight, the run happily splashing down below, and a soft carpet of forest duff everywhere. It's also the route I took the first time I rode Pine Creek, and I'm sentimental about stuff like that. I parked, got the bike off, and rode north on the trail for 2 miles, up to Pine Run, just to get my bearings and my solitude, and then turned back south and rode down to the bridge over the Little Pine Creek. 4 miles? Time for a drink. I wheeled into the parking lot of the Waterville Hotel and stopped at their neat new outdoor bar. I got an old granddad and club soda with a slice of lime, and I relaxed. We've been enjoying the Waterville Hotel for years, but this was the first time I'd been back since new owners took over in 2023 and remodeled in time for the inn's 200th anniversary in 2025. It was quite spiffy. Good beer selection, but that's always been true, and the food looked and smelled great. I was soon joined by 3 other bikers, all older than me and all much more serious about their recreation. I'm kind of used to that. We talked about the Grand Canyon run. They were headed north and planned to do the full 62-mile trail that day and stay overnight in Wellsboro. They were Pennsylvanians, but they'd cycled all over the country, including a full cross-country ride before the pandemic. They concurred with the general opinion that Pine Creek is one of the finest rail trails to be found anywhere in the country. Honestly, it's always a surprise to me that the traffic on the trail is so light for just this reason. I finished my drink and said goodbye and got back on the bike. I had a lot to see, and I had to get home, too. So I strapped the bike on the car up the parking lot and drove up along the creek to Tombs Flats. I parked there and rode up to Slate Run and Wolf's General Store and Tackle Shop. Now, Wolf's is definitely the kind of place that sells Purple Lizard maps, and Band-Aids, and Gorp, and hats, and ice cream, and hatchets, and a huge assortment of dry flies, and emergency panties. I'll admit I didn't look too closely, and t-shirts to prove you were there, and propane, and bike tubes, and, general store stuff. If they don't have it, you probably don't really need it. I carefully wandered the aisles, taking it all in and trying not to knock anything over. I listened. No, we just need a little. But, Mom, we can be there by sunset. We'll be fine. Sure, sweetie. Do you have enough for that? Summer vacation was alive and well, and taking a short break in a very small town. I scooted across Pine Creek to Hotel Manor. Not Manor Hotel, Hotel Manor. I always get it confused. It was hopping with campers, cyclists of both types, and a sudden influx of folks from New Jersey who wanted to tell everyone they were from New Jersey. Not kidding. I heard at least 3 people tell someone else, I'm from Jersey. Hey, all I wanted was a beer, and I got one. A New Trail Crisp Amber. Perfect. Cold, crushed, back on the trail. I rode down to the car and strapped it on to head up to Blackwell, where the trail leaves the road and heads into the canyon. I remembered that quiet stretch, and I was looking forward to it. The drive up was great, with more dramatic views as the gorge narrowed. I crossed the creek on a high bridge where some hikers had paused for the view. We waved to each other. I got to the parking lot at Blackwell and tucked the car into a patch of shade by the creek. I pedaled up to the trail. There was no cell signal, there were no cars, and after the first quarter mile, there were no houses. I cruised. I had a sip of water. I relaxed. The world fell away. No, the world came to me, the green world, of the canyon. I was biking. I was exploring. I was contemplating. 2 miles in, though, my phone must have caught a wisp of signal and started buzzing in my pocket. I looked at it. Lightning alert. What? And I raised my view up above the trees and the trail and saw black, fast-moving clouds ahead. Damn! I turned around, dropped it down into big wheel, little wheel gear, and made tracks. Got the bike strapped on just as I heard a distant roll of thunder. It's all timing. Oh well, I'll be back, and I'll carry the map with me. I want to bag some of those purple lizards. We did have that Juneteenth party I mentioned, and it is becoming one of the best get-togethers in an area and community that lives by its good get-togethers. No fireworks this year, it was too windy, but we did do some sing-songs and drank good whiskey and met new people. It's all good. We're having another cookout this weekend. No real reason, we just want to. Dave and I were arguing over who made the best Texas hot sauce, so we're each going to make a batch and cook up some hot dogs and see what we think. Then next week, it's back to serious work on the new book. Time to crank this out. Well, for a few days, and then it's 4th of July, a big one this year, and that means another party. And living in the valley is tough. Oh, remember, I'm still looking for a new sponsor. If you've got a great place or a great product or a great story to tell, connected to Central Pennsylvania food and drink, mostly, I'm definitely interested. Like I said, I'm not cheap, but I am quite reasonable. And it can be for just a few episodes if that works. Reach out to me at the show's email, seenthroughaGlass@gmail.com, or message me on Facebook or Instagram. We'll talk. And remember, this weekend, Saturday, June 27th, I'll be at the Tyrone Hops and Vine Festival, selling books, handing out Seen Through a Glass stickers, and you can tell me what you would like to hear about on future episodes of the podcast. There are rumors I may also have whiskey. Tickets are available at TyroneHopsandVines.com, or you can find the link at the Tyrone Hops and Vines page on Facebook. And that's the show. Thanks to Mike Hermann for the interview and the Bald Eagle State Forest map and the stickers. It was great to get back out on the bike, and I'll be doing more of that. And yes, Kathy, I'd love to have you come along next time. As always, you can find pictures for this episode on Instagram at Stag Podcast and on Facebook at Seen Through a Glass. If you're listening to the show on the radio at WSOV, there are over 80 more episodes to enjoy at Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Podbean, any of the major podcast sources. The conservation success stories Mike and I mentioned had to happen because the logging industry clear-cut much of Pennsylvania in the 1800s. With only a couple thousand acres of old-growth forest left by 1895, central Pennsylvania was a vast expanse of stumps and ashes, with low scrub and brambles covering the rest. Fortunes had been taken out of the hills, on the rivers, and then on the railroads, but there was next to nothing left. In 1898, under the direction of Pennsylvania's first Commissioner of Forestry, Dr. Joseph Rothrock, the state made the first purchase of deforested land, 7,500 acres in Clinton County. These early efforts were driven largely by flood control. Plants and trees held rain and slowed flash floods. But even these first purchases mentioned recreation for the citizens as an aim. Rothrock's work would be taken up by Pennsylvania's great conservation governor, Gifford Pinchot. Pinchot vastly increased the state forest's area, which would create a wide canvas for the wilderness heroes of the Depression, the Civilian Conservation Corps. The CCC, also known as Roosevelt's Tree Army, would be hugely busy in Pennsylvania. The state's number of 113 active CCC camps were second only to California. There are 78 identical bronze statues honoring these CCC workers across the country. Pennsylvania has 7 of them, more than any other state. And the first one, dedicated in 1999, is in Leonard Harrison State Park, overlooking the Grand Canyon of Pennsylvania. Next episode is going to be about the best beer bar you've never heard of. Probably never heard of, which is a shame. Well, we're going to fix that and have a lot of pizza. Until then, thanks for listening. This is Lou Bryson on Seen Through a Glass from the smack dab center of the Keystone State.